Queer history is Black history. Trans history is queer history. We Black as y'all. Following the Civil War from 1865 to 1877, the South entered a brief era of respite between two long periods of racist suppression called Reconstruction. It was a time when African Americans in the South were momentarily afforded, at least superficially, legal rights as citizens of the United States. During this time, the Northern federal government took control of the South in an effort to rebuild industry, suppress further rebellion, and ensure the rights of formerly enslaved people under the 14th and 15th Amendments to the Constitution. Throughout Reconstruction, African Americans in the South were able to exercise their rights and participate in society in ways that they couldn't before, and in many ways wouldn't be able to again for almost 100 years. During Reconstruction, oversight of government organizations in the South helped reduce the suppression of African American voters, and due to laws that prevented many former Confederate officers and soldiers from holding office, gave African Americans the opportunity to serve as government officials all across the South. In fact, over 1,500 African Americans held public office throughout the country. Reconstruction came to an end in 1877 when President Rutherford B. Hayes withdrew federal troops from the South. Without the federal government enforcing civil rights for African Americans, the South soon came under control of white Southern Democrats, who enacted a series of segregationist laws that removed African Americans from the political process and voter suppression tactics like voter intimidation, violence, and murder. Peace, family. Shanequa, I use she and her pronouns. I'm the senior organizer at the National LGBTQ Task Force. Queer history is Black history. Trans history is queer history.
At the end of Reconstruction in 1877, the country moved into the Jim Crow era. Jim Crow laws, which were named after a Black minstrel show character, were a collection of state and local laws that legalized racial segregation. The laws lasted almost 100 years until 1968 and were created to marginalize Black people by denying us our right to vote, hold jobs, get an education, and other valuable opportunities. The roots of the laws started as early as 1865 with laws called Black Codes that decided when, where, and how previously enslaved people could work and how much they could get paid. As populations grew and more Black people started moving into their cities, white people demanded more laws. Jim Crow laws started to include keeping Black people from public places like parks and pools and requiring segregation in places like schools, hospitals, and bathrooms. After World War II, America saw more civil rights leaders and a movement building that was focused on making sure Black people could vote. This was the beginning of the civil rights movement and the beginning of the removal of Jim Crow laws. But the truth is, Jim Crow laws are not gone. They just look different. Now, they show up in the form of incarceration and the legal system, as well as voter suppression and gerrymandering laws. My name is Camden. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the National Organizing Manager at the National Black Justice Coalition. Queer history is Black history. Trans history is queer history.
Black and queer social and civil rights activists paved the way for those of us who continue to fight for liberation. During both the 2021 and current 2022 legislative session, we have seen a stark increase in the introduction and passing of anti-LGBTQ bills, most of which target transgender youth. From sports bans to healthcare and bathroom restrictions, make no mistake, transgender kids are being relentlessly attacked. We have seen several states pass laws that suppress the right to vote. At least 19 states passed 34 laws restricting access to voting. As mentioned, more than 440 bills with provisions that restrict voting access have been introduced in 49 states in the 2021 legislative session. State legislators enacted far more restrictive voting laws in 2021 than in any year prior. At least 13 bills restricting access to voting have been pre-filed for the 2022 legislative session in 4 states. In addition, at least 152 restrictive voting bills in 18 states will carry over from 2021. Now is the time to act. We have to exercise our constitutional right to vote. Contact our legislators, talk to our family and friends, and also encourage them to do the same. The Black and queer vote holds power. I am Sybastian Smith, he, him, organizing director at the National Center for Transgender Equality. Queer history is Black history. Trans history is queer history.